Well, hey everyone, I got a Spyderco Delica 4 off eBay recently, and it is a used knife, so I was in the process of taking it apart to clean the whole knife, internals and externals. But I thought, why not set up the camera just in case somebody is interested in watching this. This is a ProTurn 3K from Wiha, and it's a Torx set. If you're going to take apart any type of Torx screws, it's good to have a good set because it's definitely worth its cost when you buy a higher quality set. The reason why I did get this set, and it actually comes with this specific set I got off Amazon, and it comes with a set of 6 here. But for this knife, I'm only going to need the T9 for the pivot and a T6 for the rest of the screws. But the reason why I got that was because I used to use this Torx set. It was just convenient. There's a screw-off cap in the back, and there's all kinds of different bit sizes in here. This is some kind of chromium vanadium type metal, and it actually is pretty soft. I didn't notice, but once when I was really cranking on a screw, I guess the tip twisted just slightly, so there's a bit of a rotation. And then when I was taking apart this Benchmade 940, the tip of the Torx bit didn't quite fit into the hole, even though it's the right screw size. And then what happened is I ended up stripping some of these screws, and you can see the damage that it caused. I actually had to slot that with a Dremel to get it out with a flathead screwdriver. Benchmade was nice enough to send me replacement screws for this, but that scar there on the handle is permanent, so I'm just going to have to live with that. So anyway, I don't use this anymore, not to mention it doesn't really give you very much grip to, hold on to. If there's something that's really jammed in there, my hand starts to slip off this screwdriver. So this is just kind of a backup screw set now. So going back to this is really what I like to use nowadays. Wiha also has the mini Torx set that might look something more similar to like this screwdriver. This is just a flathead, but I prefer this ProTurn one with, really comfortable grips. Oh, sorry about that. I'll cut that out. It was just me coughing. Okay, so I'm just going to continue disassembling this. And I already took the pocket clip off. You can see, I think there is some wood putty in the Spyderco logo. I'm going to have to scrub that out. And of course, missing paint off the pocket clip. But I really like the look of worn pocket clips. I don't know why. I'd actually prefer it to a brand new clip. And, this one isn't very worn, but it's kind of scratched up. I don't know, I like used knives for some reason. I just like the look of them. So again, this is going to be a T6 screw, and I'm just going to take it out. And just last night I was watching Cloak and Dagger on Netflix. It's one of those really old vintage 80 movies, but it's really reminiscent of my childhood, and I used to watch it all the time when I was little. And there's a scene where the computer guy took apart the Cloak and Dagger cartridge, just one screw in the middle that to take it apart, and they looked inside, and there's extra microchip on the inside of the game, which told them that had secret spy data on it. But just watching that whole process made me think that this would be a good video to film, because it was just kind of interesting, and of course this is a little more complex than just removing one screw. But so I took off the FRN handle. It's fiberglass reinforced plastic, basically. I'm going to take off this liner. This is just a flathead screwdriver. Try to do it without, damaging anything. Seems to be a little jammed. If there's parts that take too long, I'm going to just kind of clip to the conclusion of that phase. It'll just kind of save everybody time. Whoa! One thing I'm afraid of is this knife that's just freely swinging on the pivot, so I'll just take that off. Okay, so as you can see in here, this is how the lockback works. You have this spring bar, and it pushes tension down on the back of the knife that locks it into place. So I'm just going to take all of this apart. I'm going to take all these metal pieces out and try to remember the position they were in, and then I'm going to clean all of this. So we got 2 bronze washers, and I can tell this is really dirty. I can feel the grit on my fingers as I'm taking this apart. Take out these pins. Oops. a plastic back spacer, and the last liner. I apologize, I have this cold that I keep coughing. Okay, so what I'm going to do to clean the metal parts is I'm just going to spray it down with Ballistol. I'm going to slide that up, get another piece of cardboard here. This is my work table, by the way. I kind of just put a layer of cardboard is good enough to absorb any of the oils that go through it. You know, this nice space between the corrugate is enough. It just holds all the oil on the top. I'm just going to get a paper towel and spray it down. I'll do both sides. You can see all the dirt coming off. Do the edges. And then, of course, the light layer of excess oil on the parts will help protect it from future degradation and also lubricate the parts just slightly. And there's big chunks of grime, and I don't know if you can see that, big chunks of grime in this little locking part, so that should be nice for the lockup. And on the corresponding side, yeah, you can see a whole bunch of pocket lint. I know this camera doesn't focus well. Let me see if I can refocus. You actually have to turn the camera off and then refocus and then press record again to get it to refocus. Bottom line is I need a new camera. But as you can see here, there's a whole bunch of pocket lint right in this area here. So I'm going to get all that out. It's going to do wonders towards making this into a crisper locking device in general. This is a used knife, but it's actually in really good shape. There's hardly any scratches on the blade itself, and the edge looks nice and clean. So I'm going to get a Q-tip to go inside the pivot, clean it out. You can see how dirty that was, as well as up here in the locking area and all the contact points I'm just going to go over. And just like my other video, you can polish all these internal parts with flits if you're so inclined. I don't think this one needs it. I'm not going to give it the full treatment. So I'm going to go into this pivot hole. This is what keeps the lock bar into the knife. I'm going to go through this notch here again. Okay. And cardboard is cheap, so I like to just keep using the new pieces. There's all sorts of, it might be hard to see on the camera, but there's all sorts of grimy dust particles all over this thing, so I'm just going to chuck this whole piece. Okay, so what I like to do for the screws is I just kind of put it all on a paper napkin, like so, and then I'm just going to spray it with Ballistol. And then I'm just going to rub it together. And I know it's not the best way to clean something, but it's the fastest, at least, for screws. And by the color of the paper napkin, I know that it cleans something at least. I put all those on the clean cardboard. Some of these screws fell out, so I'll redo these. And here's that towel now, and you can see a little bit of dirt came off of it. And then there are 3 washers for this. This little one was around the pivot screw on the outside, and these are the 2 internal bronze washers in contact with the knife. So I just like to spray that and just rub it around the cardboard a little bit. Try not to bend them or crease them. But I might have to really go in with a scrub brush to get this wood putty out. If that's even what it is, it might be something else. I don't know. It might even be like spray paint or something in there. And here's the pocket clip screws. Actually, I'll leave these in a separate pile along with the pocket clip so I know what it is. And for these nylon parts, I'm going to take to the sink, use a scrub brush, and scrub them down with a dish soap. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back, and that was a longer break than I expected. So if the lighting looks a little different, It probably is, because now it's nighttime outside. So anyway, I'm just gonna get a new piece of cardboard. The FRN handles are clean and they look brand new now. Not a single scratch on it. It was actually a really good condition knife. So I'm just gonna put all this back together, and I think this liner was on this handle. And I'm just gonna stick all these pins back. I figured out all these pins are the same, so I don't think it makes a difference. Okay, so these 3 pins are the same. This is the pivot pin, and this was the pin that held the lockback pivot for that hole. So I'm just going to put everything back together again. And they have a flat side, so it does have to go in a specific way. Okay, so that piece is partially put back together. What I'm going to do for the bronze washers is I'm going to put some oil on the contact points where these bronze washers touch the knife pivot area. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil, and I'm actually using a oil called Tuf Glide. Not for any reason, Ballistol works just fine as well. But since I have it, it's a more specialized type of lubricant for firearms. The oil helps to hold the washers on to make it easier to slide on as well. So I'm gonna try to be really careful with this, because this spring likes to pop off a lot, just like that. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to have to push this lockboard down while holding the spring in place and keeping this assembly intact with one hand, and then try to get the knife with the washers on them, the knife with the washers on it, onto this pivot screw. And now I just need to pull the spring back down without cutting myself. There we go. Nope. Popped off again. This might take some finagling. Okay, so this actually is the hardest part. So the spring keeps popping out, so I'm going to have to hold it in place while I put on this liner, which will hopefully secure it. And I'm going to concentrate on the spring. So I'm holding it there, and then I'm going to put this other handle scale back on. And once we screw everything back in, everything should be nice and sturdy. I can feel the handle tightening up and all these gaps closing, so now it's pretty secure. It's so nice to have a nice Torx set when you need it. Think about when you're having to struggle with reassembling a knife. And the last screw was the pivot, and this is the screw that had a extra washer on it, which was this little guy. So thread that back on. Put this here. Get my bigger Torx screw. So this is the T9. Then what I like to do is tighten it almost all the way and then, you know, set it back about a 1/8 to a quarter turn to loosen it up. And of course that's still too tight, so I'm going to loosen it some more. Putting the pivot screw back in is a balance of letting it freely swing while not letting it have any blade play back and forth. That's still a little tight with no blade play, so I'm going to back it out just a little bit more. Yeah, that has a little bit of play now, so I'm going to put it back in a little. And that's it, and now it's nice and crisp. There's a little bit of tension that pulls the blade back in. It's nice. And this is a great knife. So what this effectively does is it kind of just removes the essence of the old user. Essence meaning grime, dirt, dust, smoke smell if there's any. This kind of takes all the bad parts off of it, makes it semi brand new, but it keeps the character of the used blade. You know, all the character's still there, all the scratches and life uses that it's been through. This blade is actually pretty dull, but it looks like it hasn't been used very much, so it just needs a little touch up with the handle back for tip-up carry. I'm going to see if I can take this off. Maybe, can't tell what that is. It doesn't look like wood putty to me anymore. I actually think it's paint. So let me see if I can take it off with a little bit of paint thinner. This might be odd, but I actually keep paint thinner in a jar like this. So I'm going to get a Q-tip. I'm going to try not to strip any of this black paint off, but I'm wondering what this substance is. See if this might dissolve it a little. And if it doesn't come off, that's alright. It's just another piece of part of the character of the knife. But whatever this is, it's inside of the impression of the Spyderco logo, so yeah, it's definitely not coming off, so I don't know what that is. It's some kind of tan epoxy or something. I don't know what it is. We'll just leave it. So I'm going to put this for a right hand tip up carry. And there it is. Spyderco Delica 4. Newly washed, newly cleaned, and reassembled. Thanks for watching, everyone.